Hi there, folks. Welcome to our Vegas Nation Stadium show, where we provide inside analysis and all the updated information on what is happening with the NFL Stadium set to open here in 2020. I'm Ed Graney, sports columnist for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and I'm pleased to again be joined today by RJ reporter Rick Velotta, our man on all things NFL Stadium. Rick, how are you?
It's all good.
Let's get to the stadium. We've got some graphics we're going to show the people at home during the show and how far the stadium is coming along. First of all, though, if you're at home and you want to see this stadium be built before your very eyes, the Review-Journal has a great thing. It has the fans can track the $1.8 billion project. It's at Russell Road and Interstate 15. We've installed a 24-hour live feed at the stadium site. Now, it looks south from Panorama Tower condominium complex to watch as it grows up. Why is this important? I mean, why is this cool? I mean, if you're a person at home, do you want to see this thing built?
Well, honestly, when I first heard that it was on the Panorama Tower, I thought, gosh, that's like a half mile away. How are we even going to be able to see anything?
Technology.
But when you look into when you sign on to that and look at the image, the resolution is absolutely fantastic. It's a super zoom 44 times lens, real-time views, 24/7, and I think that there's a lot of interest out there by the public to actually see this. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that really are interested in this don't live in this market, so they can't be driving past it on a regular basis. So this camera provides that view anytime they want to see it. Review-Journal
has that camera going. Take a look. Watch this be built before your eyes. Okay, one of the cool things about any stadium project, and you talked about this when you went to the Minnesota stadium. I was there for the Super Bowl. When you talk to people, the coolest thing sometimes is when it goes vertical. I've driven by the stadium site now. It's starting to go vertical. You can actually, with your mind and your eyes, see how tall it's going to be, where the cutoff is going to be, in terms of when did they start going vertical, and where are they now in terms of that situation with the steel and starting to build upward?
Well, they started to, as you put it, go vertical about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and that was when they started installing these 52 truss columns that kind of line the edge of the stadium. The steel beams are going to frame the entire thing, and then it'll also hold the high strength translucent polymer roof. And I won't say what ETFE means, but that's
no idea what that means.
That's what the roof is made of. Suffice to say that you can.
It's not a bubble, though.
It's not a bubble. It's going to be a flat surface.
Okay.
But it'll allow the sun to come in, and certainly it's going to be something that will make the experience within the stadium seem like you're outdoors without actually being outside.
Like in Minnesota. When I was there for the Super Bowl before the game, 3 hours before the game, you felt like you were outdoors. It was a beautiful feeling, a strange feeling, though. I think it's going to be the same here with the views across to Mandalay Bay into the Strip. I think it's going to be stunning at times.
Yeah, at the stadium in Minneapolis, you can see into downtown Minneapolis, a great view, and it's also a pretty nice venue that they let a lot of light in that way. Same thing's going to be here. Plus, there's going to be some openings on the side of the stadium that will look out onto the Strip, and that's going to be fantastic. It's going to be something that no other stadium is going to have anything like it, which is part of the excitement. These beams that are going up there, they weigh 65 tons each. So if you can imagine the tolerance on putting these things up,
the stress.
Yeah, it's. If they're off by 1 inch on the bottom end, if you can kind of imagine that the top end, if you're off by 1 inch down here, it might be up by a whole foot up here, and they can't let that happen. So this is a very precision work, and they've got to put in 52 of those things, so it does take a little bit of time. But as you can see in some of the images that we have of it, they're already started, and they've already got some of those truss columns in.
Other meetings have been held. Now, this is interesting. I know they held the first, since we last talked to you, the first public meetings on who is going to and how a stadium district in the vicinity of the stadium is going to be developed. Tell us about that, and what will this district entail? I'm assuming retail, hotels. What is this district about, and who's in charge of that?
I think that a lot of people who look at where the stadium is right now and they say,
they can't see a district.
Yeah, and they look out there and say, well, there's a bunch of warehouses around here and industrial. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's not really a stadium environment. Well, that's what this organization is all about, this group that's being put together through the county to actually have a stadium district. It's 1.25 square miles, so it's a large area that's around there. It's kind of bordered by Tropicana Avenue on the north, Interstate 15 on the east, and then the railroad line that kind of runs into Las Vegas is on the west side and on the south. So everything within that area is going to be part of this district. Well, what's the district going to be? We don't know at this point, but
you'd assume retail.
This was an initial meeting, so
Okay.
it was really kind of to explore ideas, what could possibly be. But you're right, retail is going to be out there. We're going to see restaurants. We're going to see a number of places where they'll sell things for football and stadium-related things. So I think this first start was important because they wanted to get it off the ground and they wanted to solicit ideas from people. Basically, the way they let it stand after this initial meeting was, okay, we've told you what we want to do. Now go out and come back with us in a few months and let us know what you think this is going to look like.
Now, this recommendation on the event, this is more, what is this more like? How many events? What will be the events? Okay, so we've talked a lot about this, and this is a huge part of the stadium project. Look, they have to fill the stadium. This is not just about the Raiders or UNLV football. There has to be concerts. There has to be trade shows. To make this thing viably and financially solvable, I would assume, over the long term, you've got to put events in the stadium. I would assume this is what this committee is investigating.
Well, and what they're doing is trying to figure out who should run it, how this should be done. Because right now we have some mechanisms in place. We've got the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. We've got Las Vegas Events, which is a private company that is financed by the LVCVA. They already do this type of stuff already. So the question now has become with this committee is, well, should we reinvent the wheel and get a new sports commission? Or should we just turn the responsibilities over to these groups that have already done it? And I think they're kind of leaning towards that. So we'll probably see in the next few weeks what direction they're going to go on that, how it's going to be structured, how it's going to be financed. That's going to be key.
Right.
Because these events that they're looking at bringing here, sometimes it costs a little bit of money to make a bid for them. So that's part of the process.
The other thing Rick's written about in the RJ recently, which I think is fascinating, because I think there's the assumption out there, because we're going to have this NFL stadium in Las Vegas, that it's automatic that we should bid and desire and want a Super Bowl. Super Bowls are great for towns. You can make the argument one way or the other whether they're financially great for towns over time. I think there have been studies proven both ways. But what people don't realize is each year there's a Super Bowl in a city, and the next biggest city, if not bigger, is Las Vegas when it comes to Super Bowl because of all the tourists we attract for the betting and watching the game. In fact, last year when I was in Minnesota, there were more people here watching it in hotel rooms than there were in Minneapolis. You've written about this, so take us through this. Why is it good and or bad? I personally, I think Vegas is going to get a Super Bowl because I know the NFL is going to want to show off their stadium, their NFL stadium. But tell the people at home why it's good and bad that we would even want this.
Well, the problem with it is the timing, and obviously we're not going to change the time of year of the Super Bowl. It's going to be that first weekend in February, without a doubt. Well, it also happens that in that first week in February, there's a lot of things going on in Las Vegas already. This is the month of January is a fantastic
tourism convention,
right?
Tourism.
Convention time because. You've got your largest convention, CES, comes in January. You've got World of Concrete, which may seem like kind of boring for you and me, but the people who
they fill hotel rooms.
And they build stadiums too, right?
Yes.
So the fact is that these types of conventions already are established and they bring in a lot of money right now. So what's going to happen if they bring a Super Bowl in? Are we going to uproot those conventions and say, hey, sorry, we're going to have a Super Bowl this year. We can't really accommodate you.
Or your hotel room just went from 180 to 320.
Exactly. So that's one of the things that they're contemplating in this. So they recognize that they can't be inviting a Super Bowl to come here every single year.
Right.
Which I've heard some of those theories. Oh, we should just have the Super Bowl in Las Vegas all the time. It's not going to happen. So the fact is that to put together a bid for a Super Bowl, this committee is estimating it's going to cost $50 million.
Yeah.
Well, where's that money going to come from?
Yeah.
It's going to have to come from probably some seed money from the legislature. But the fact that I thought was really interesting about what this committee was doing was that they've actually put together a scenario of years and the matching up what events they could bring. And I had to keep notes on it because it was so convoluted. NFL draft in 2022 cost about $5 million to bid. NCAA neutral field football game in 2023 $5 million there.
Right.
NBA All-Star Game. Remember we had one of those here?
That went great for the town. Really,
$10 million.
that was a great atmosphere.
2024 NHL All-Star Game. Now that would
now
be
I
at
do
the
think
stadium,
that is going to come.
but that would probably be at the T-Mobile Arena.
Right, that'd be at
presumably.
T-Mobile.
And Super Bowl probably in 2026. Again, $50 million there. NCAA Final Four in 2028.
Yes.
NCAA neutral field football game in 2029, NFL draft in 2030, college
Right.
football championship game in 2031, Super Bowl and an NBA All-Star game in 2033. So you can see that the wheels are turning, that people are thinking about this, but they also have to be conscious of the fact that there are going to be conventions and organizations that have been here for years, loyal customers of the LVCVA, that might get uprooted if we have one of these special events at the specifically at the time that they want to have them.
What's the next steps we should be looking for?
Well, we're going to be obviously seeing more of the vertical stadium,
Right.
And eventually, probably by the end of the year, we're going to see a lot more people working on the site. There'll be more laborers coming in, because once you get that to the point where it's pretty close to being enclosed,
Then you really bring people in.
Then you can start working on things on the interior.
Right.
All the rough outs that have been done, including my favorite feature, that beer room.
You're still holding on hope for the beer room.
We'll see how that goes. But over the next 2 or 3 months, you'll be seeing more of an effort to enclose the building.
Is there a projected date for enclosure?
I think that they're trying to get that roof on there by early next year.
Okay.
So we'll be seeing that happen. But the other thing that I think is interesting, and we haven't talked a whole lot about this, are these big openings that are on the stadium, on the west side, on the actually the southwest side is that opening at the bottom of the stadium where the field tray.
The field's going to have to be brought in and brought out. Yeah,
that's a lot more of an elaborate process than I even imagined, because I was talking to some of the engineers about how that comes about. And then on the other side, it would be the northeast side, where they have what they call the lanai doors. Those are the things that open up into the to get the view of the strip. But there are a lot of incredible things that happen with that. Wind tolerances. They have to have some kind of a weather forecasting system miles away to make sure that the wind isn't going to kick up enough to be a problem when the doors are open. They also had to put together an emergency setup so that people will know how to close the doors manually if the electricity is gone for some reason. So a lot of little details, maybe they're not so little, but there are a lot of details that are going to be going on, and they'll be discussed here in the next 3 or 4 months.
And if you're at home, watch that 24-hour feed the Review Journal has going on. You'll see this thing built right before your eyes. Rick, appreciate it. Great job as usual. Rick Velotta, follow all his stuff on the stadium and how it's being built. Well, there you have it. We hope you enjoyed this show. And remember, for all your stadium and Raiders news, go to reviewjournal.com daily. Check back here at Vegas Nation, where we're going to bring you up-to-date stadium shows as the project is built before our eyes. For Review Journal reporter Rick Velotta, I'm Ed Graney. Thanks for watching.